Hey,
Hi,
it's Tash and Carly,
and you're listening to Motherhood,
not as we planned.
So get comfy, grab a cup of tea,
Or a glass of wine, and let's start talking about all the things too many of us avoid discussing. Hi guys, welcome back. So first of all, I think we both just need to say a massive congratulations to you
and you
for hitting 100,000 followers on our
It was
Instagram.
a day of each other,
Which is so weird, isn't it? So yeah, we've been kind of on a high about that.
It just like went a bit crazy out of nowhere. I think one of our reels we did together went a bit viral, so our followers
Gonna need to do more of those then. Yeah. So
yeah, massive thank you. So we'll do a little catch up on our weekend, really.
yeah, I mean, I didn't do very much. I went shopping and I got something I feel like you're going to appreciate. Are you ready? I've got it with me.
God.
Oh my God.
What is this? What is
So
it?
basically, I saw it in H&M in the Halloween section, and I just thought it's giving like divorce party vibe.
I'm here for it.
I'm loving it.
I hope I'm coming to this party.
Obviously, like not divorced yet, but I just feel like it's stunning.
It is stunning.
Do you want to borrow it?
Hell yeah.
So yeah, divorce party, not yet. Should I wear it for the episode?
You can wear it for all your teasers in there.
Okay, maybe I'll wear.
If you're wearing it, this needs adjusting. Perfect.
It's nice, isn't it? So that's my news. This is what I did this weekend.
I had quite a different weekend by the sound of it. I've had a mental weekend. So yeah, I hit 100k followers on Friday morning, and then it's sort of secret I am seeing someone, and then he messaged me that morning saying pack your nicest dress. And then I got to his house on Friday afternoon, and I was like went to go and like start doing my hair. So I started walking like to his room to get ready. And he was like, no. He was like, we're going straight in the car. I was like, what do you mean we're going in the car? He was like, grab your overnight bag, we're going in the car. And then he drove us to this really beautiful hotel. And he was like, we're staying here for the night. We've got dinner booked. And it was so cute. Walked into the room. He had like 100 balloons out for me. We went and watched the sunset. I feel so cheesy saying stuff like this because this has never been my life. This has never been my. This would never have happened.
Some people are going to be listening.
No, I'm really sorry. I am that person, and do you know what? I'm going to own it. Enjoy it. Yeah, I am. I'm so happy. We went and watched the sunset. We got dressed up, and we had the most romantic and amazing dinner. And like, I just had the best weekend. And then yesterday, I had Milo's second birthday party, so it's like another kind of I feel like I've done both the kids' parties now. This time my ex didn't come, purely because it was more just like a small family and friend get together. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. And like as they get older, maybe they do things in halls and it's bigger than fine, but I just didn't feel like it was necessary. It was quite a hard one, like doing it all on my own. I did all the food. Like I wanted to try and keep the costs and stuff down. So I did like all the food on my own. Normally I'd get someone to do that. Like balloons, I didn't go mad with. I just got like a small balloon thing. I did work with one amazing company who offered to do all the bounce castle stuff, which was like a saving grace. But yeah, it was a really nice day. It was just quite difficult. I think days like that are always difficult.
Bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. It's something else. I know it's veering off topic of what we're talking about today, but just I know it's something I voice noted you over the weekend is I'm approaching Milo's second birthday. It's on Wednesday, so it's 2 days after we're recording this. And I just got really upset the other day, like just thinking like my baby's not even 2 and all of this stuff has happened.
Yeah.
Like
It does hit you, doesn't it?
it hits you, and I felt really angry. Like, how dare my family be ripped apart? Or like, how dare, obviously things have happened in my marriage. Like I just felt really angry about them all. Like, you know, like
It's because he's still really young. He's
still so young. And I feel like he's been deprived of like, I don't know, like obviously he knows no different, and to some degree it's probably easier dealing with it when they are younger, but in my head I still feel like he's missed. I can't explain it, but
I get it.
I think whatever I'm feeling is very valid, and yeah, it's just I've been feeling really angry the last few days, and like how dare someone do this to my family, and so that's kind of a mixed emotion weekend, really.
Highs and lows.
Yeah, highs and lows.
Gotta ride it.
Baby.
I think I might take this off now. I feel like a bit of a prat. But I feel like when we're divorced, we can wear this on an episode. So goodbye,
There's party spam pin.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought that today we kind of delve in a bit more with the whole leave and stay situation. We've been doing kind of like leave and stay segments, and a lot of them are maybe kind of like very black and white, like something really big happens and you're like, oh my God, leave. And then it's like another thing where it's not that big of a deal, stay. So we kind of wanted to go into that a bit more and maybe give more reasons for like, here are the reasons why you should be leaving. Here are the reasons why you should be staying. Yeah. Again, it's not going to be as simple as, oh, well, like I've got all those reasons, so I'm going to leave, or I've got all those reasons, so I'm going to stay. But we thought that it would be kind of a good thing to discuss today.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, like leaving just means like there's possibility in happiness, there's possibility, I don't know, like a new future ahead. Whereas I feel like staying, particularly if something's been painful, like that pain is always going to be there. It's no matter what you do, I genuinely feel like that pain will always be there. Whereas obviously, look, leaving is painful and it does cause hurt and it is hard, but I feel like that's temporary. I also feel like from that you grow and you learn, and it is that possibility, isn't it? It's that possibility of hope, and I know it's something we've certainly like starting to experience. Like, wow, what that possibility could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very much it, isn't it? It's like it's painful staying, it's painful leaving. But at least if you leave,
yeah,
you have that hope.
Staying, nothing changes, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's maybe delve into kind of like reasons for leaving first. So I would say like the first main reason for leaving is if you are consistently unhappy. I've said before that if 80% of the time you are not happy, that is your reason to be leaving. You know, I'm not saying, you know, couples go through stages, especially maybe when you've got children and things are very new and you're sleep deprived. Like, no marriage is constantly good and happy.
You might be going through something like why financial situations change. There's going to be ups and downs, and it's not to be confused. And I think when we talk about being consistently unhappy, I think we need to think about it being a prolonged period of time and not just like
a few weeks.
Yeah, or like a couple of months. But because that does happen in our lives. Like, you know, there's things like, I don't know, like mourning the loss of someone, or you're going to go through things. It's really, I think it's really important to understand that's like a prolonged feeling. And those feelings are to do with the relationship rather than other external factors.
Yeah, like you just said, like if one of you's been made redundant and you don't have a job for 6 months, that stress financially can have such an impact on your day-to-day and your relationship. The second being where there's no emotional connection anymore. I feel like that's massive. I feel like being on a different level in general emotionally, I think is quite a struggle anyway. But when you lose that connection, it's like what's kind of like holding you together.
Yeah. Or even like, so I think like that's a point I really relate to, but actually it's only really after my marriage broke down that I realised, do you know what? It's not. I did. And I remember feeling like, I feel really bad saying it, but like I remember quite a lot of times thinking like, I don't know, I'm not in love anymore. Like I don't love this person. I don't love the person they are now. It is really, if I wish in hindsight I knew the things I knew now, because again, like I would never have left, but these are such valid reasons. That is a big reason, and that is like a strong enough reason to leave.
I think it's sometimes, like we've mentioned before, very difficult to see these things when you're in it. And it's not actually until you have that clearer head that you can look back and be like, I actually know what I had that.
I was very aware that I wasn't in love, but I just felt like maybe this is married life and maybe this happens to people and
It's like-
this is as good as it gets and this is my life. And I didn't really challenge those boundaries on it. I just accepted it and rode it. And I think, I don't know, it sounds really sad, but like when you get married and you go through things like that, you drop the idea of this fairy tale and you drop this idea of like a relationship being about being in love. And actually, I think it's really important that you do continuously love the person you are spending your life with. They should be your best friend. And that emotional connection is the most important thing.
It's funny. I think there's a really fine line between accepting that marriage isn't always perfect and it can be difficult, and then actually realizing that you're not truly in love and content. Because I think sometimes that feeling of, I love them, but maybe I'm not in love with them, can maybe be mistaken for, well, marriage isn't always great and happy and sometimes hard, but there is a difference. And I think marriage can be hard and difficult, but you should still be like, oh, but I fucking love them and want to rip their clothes off. So I feel like I maybe misunderstood those two different things.
Misunderstood the assignment. Yeah, I did too.
Which I've never actually really...
Actually, also like thinking about what you've just said, like the whole I want to rip their clothes off, and I don't know, just I don't know if when I got into my relationship that I didn't appreciate I didn't have everything there that I would want now. I don't know. I'm older. I'm experienced. I know, but
and that's a massive difference, isn't it? Because I do remember having that feeling when I was younger, when I was 17 and you had no responsibilities. But then I think that as you get older and those responsibilities come into the relationship, I think they really overtake a lot of other things, not realising you need to still keep those things in a relationship. Sometimes I think that it's much easier to make less mistakes in a second marriage because you see exactly what didn't work for both of you, what mistakes you made, what mistakes they made, and you're more conscious of making sure that they don't get repeated. I'm not sitting here saying if you're listening to this and you're in your first marriage, scrap that one and go to the second, because there are amazing successful relationships, but I feel so strongly now about what is important and what I will make sure.
But I guess like on the flip side of that, some people are in relationships where the communication is good in their first marriage.
Yeah.
You know, for us, that just wasn't a thing. And you know, people are different. And like I'm sitting here now and I'm genuinely, it sounds a bit messed up, but I'm grateful for what I've gone through because
100%.
I genuinely believe the rest of my life is going to be so much happier and more fulfilled. And like I was saying this weekend, like I just feel like I'm finding myself again, and I feel like a little bit of my fire's been reignited, and I've got this new excitement for life that I actually haven't had for years. I was just
plodding.
Yeah, it was just existing.
Yeah.
And I'd given up on myself being important and the things I love being important. And actually, what I've really learned the last few months is it's really important to live your life in the most fulfilled way.
Yeah.
I'm not compromising on that again.
Yeah.
No way.
But like we've always said, I think every relationship is there to teach you something. So, you know, anyone listening to this that may be about to go through a breakup or in that, you know, really hard part of that breakup, don't have those regrets, because those relationships and the bad things that have maybe happened to you, however hard they are, they will teach you something for things moving forward. And I think they're necessary.
I agree.
So the third one I would say is having different core values. Like that is an absolute, like really, it baffles me how I was able to last for so long in a relationship without when we had different values.
But do you think your values change when you become parents? I think anyway, when you have kids to some extent. But that's one thing I really noticed in my relationship is our values were here and here.
Yeah, and I guess actually, you know, my relationship started at the age of 15. I didn't know what my values of like, you know, financial values and money and stuff like that. And I didn't have any money when I was 15. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, you're not, it's like anything, like when you're in a relationship, you grow together or you grow apart. And I think that comes down to your core values. You know, what are your values on family, on life in general?
Most important things.
Yeah. So they need to be the same as your partner. And if they're not, sadly, in the nicest possible way, I think that's going to cause an issue for the longevity of a relationship.
It does cause issues. If you're, I don't know, for example, if someone in your relationship is very family orientated and the other person would rather go and do something like work out or something for themselves and those things come to a head, it doesn't work.
Or you know, some people may be sitting there being like, but what are values? What do you mean by values? It may be that someone's really into kind of like looking after themselves and being healthy, and then the other one just literally wants to sit on the sofa and do sweet FA. And like, then you don't have, I'm not saying that you need like the same hobbies.
No.
You know, you can have one person that's like really into football and someone's like, I literally couldn't give a shit about football. I don't want to watch it. That's okay. It's more having the set, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Lifestyle choices to a degree, but not like, I don't know.
Well, actually, my biggest core value is communication. I now need to be with someone that understands communication is important and they need to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
My ex didn't know how to communicate. There in itself, we didn't have the same value about communication. So I think it's, values generally is what you feel like is important to you.
Or what's the most important things in your life? Like a big one for me is family.
Yeah.
I think is orientated around like that will always be a priority over everything. And I think, yeah, those values, I think, and if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not really sure, like if our values match up, list them out, write down what's important to you. Like what is important to you? And do you feel like your partner is matching that in terms of their core values? I think it's quite a big one.
I don't want people to mistake values with hobbies.
No.
Because
it's good to have different hobbies.
I mean, for example, my boyfriend is really, really into cricket. He keeps trying to get me into cricket. I'm never going to be into cricket, but I love that he loves cricket and I'd never take that away from him. I think there's something really nice about having different hobbies and being okay with it. It doesn't need to be the same
things that the other person's interested in.
Yeah.
It's a nice discussion.
Yeah, like I'd never take that. Like I love that he loves it because that makes him who he is, but I'll never be going and playing cricket. Which I'm sure he actually doesn't want me to because I'd be shit. But yeah.
I go on for hours.
Oh, it's like 7 hours. You know, like I didn't even know that. Like
I got to do a bit of 2020 or quick cricket. So it's like,
oh, how do you? Oh, yeah, fair.
Sorry for those of you who like them.
Well, really impressive
Cricket podcast.
God, then he'd listen.
Yeah, then it listened.
I think I convinced myself for a very long time that because in my head I feel like you should never trust anyone 100%. The lack of trust I had in him was like acceptable and it would be okay. But it made me insecure and paranoid, and that in itself just isn't a good relationship. Like you can't be with someone that you don't trust in my eyes.
And that was how my relationship ended, was there was a massive
lack of trust and you knew there was
a breach of trust.
Yeah.
And like that for me, but that was enough. And you know, for some people that will be like the point where they're like done.
Yeah.
And it was for me. And I know it's not always as simple as that, but with the lack of trust comes, I think, a lack of respect. And then it just builds up so many other issues in your relationship. And I think every single solid relationship is built off of trust between two people. And that has to exist or it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, you feel negatively judged or unappreciated. You know, I felt like every time I needed to confront a situation or give my opinion about something, I was almost worried how it would impact our relationship because I very much felt like I was always to blame. I mean, I guess in a way that is gaslighting. I feel like in your relationship, it should feel like a safe place to not feel like anything you do is negatively judged. I think that's a really big red flag in a relationship.
Yeah. And things like, I don't know, not being supported in terms of like your achievements, or even like things like, and probably a lot of mums listen to this will get this, like, and I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but on the whole, I think mums probably do more of the load. We've spoken before about like being the default parent, and that's fine. I've never had a problem with being the one to do it, but sometimes it is that appreciation. I felt like what I did was never appreciated. It was taken for granted completely. But like, there'd be comments made like, why hasn't this been done? And I don't know.
Or like coming home.
I'm like, that's absolutely not okay. Like if you're constantly like, I know, like me as a person, I don't do things by halves. Like if I do things, I'm doing them properly. And if I've not done something, there's a very good reason something's not been done properly. I don't know. I think as well with like underappreciation comes like links in with like not being made to feel beautiful and not being made to feel attractive and lovable, or all those things we've spoken about before. And I think, look, like when you're in a longer relationship with people, I'm sure it's not as often as you're told like in the beginning of a relationship, but I would still like to think that in a really positive relationship, you're with someone who will tell you you're beautiful, or you're amazing, or you're clever, or you're smart, or you're funny, whatever it is. And I think when those things disappear as well, that's also a big contributing factor.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's even just little things like you just said. Like if you've had a really hard day with the kids, and if your partner walks in and is like, why is the house a mess? Or where's my dinner? Not for me.
It's the underappreciation.
Yeah.
Because like that's it. Like we do not stop. I stress myself out, and now being on my own, even I feel like I'm like underappreciating myself. Like we're sat here in my house, the other half of my house you can't see. It's a bomb site because last night it was the end of the party. It is. And
why haven't you tidied up for me?
You know what? I've got no one to answer for. I'm exhausted. I don't need to do it. And actually it felt quite nice knowing it was only you coming, and I don't feel like you're the kind of person to judge me. You get it.
I'm judging.
But do you know what I mean?
I didn't make one comment.
No.
Literally to me, like, this is home. This is kids. This is happy.
Yeah, I just let it go.
Embracing it.
Because last night I was getting myself in a bit of a stress.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need to add to it.
Well, I messaged you being like, don't tidy my
if I was still in a marriage, well, I probably would have had to start cleaning it all anyway. But yeah.
Okay, number 6, you consistently fantasize about the idea of another relationship. I wouldn't say I necessarily did this, but I think it was more not fantasizing about another relationship, but maybe wishing certain things were done that never would have happened in my relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like even little things like reaching certain milestones in work and being like, oh, I wish like maybe they even just like bought me flowers, just, you know, like little things. But don't get me wrong, I also don't want people mistaking like anything we're saying. Like, no marriage is perfect. There's going to be little things.
And there's going to be things
in really
good work on.
But there's also going to be snippets in good marriages that people are going to be like, oh, I always like wish that he did this or wish he did that. That is also just relationships in general. But I'm talking like as a whole.
And I think a lot of this is, we're talking about like a lot of these points. We're not saying like just one of these points.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're talking about, this is a lot of significant things. I think both Tash and I can relate to several of them.
At the moment, I can relate to all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'd have to speak about every single point. So yeah, that's what I mean. It is like, it's not just one or just don't listen to this thinking, oh, this. I think it's a combination of them all is definitely a sign to leave.
Yeah. And I also just think that generally with everything we say, we've always very much made it very clear. We're not professionals. We're not sitting here being therapists, and we're not here telling anyone what to do.
These are our opinions.
Yeah. And just kind of voicing that how we're taking on these points and through our experience.
And reflecting on these points very much cropping up in our marriage.
Yeah, like, you know, I've been on the phone to friends of mine plenty of times who are in lovely, happy marriages, and they'll be like, oh, well, I've had an argument with my husband because he did this, and this, and he didn't do that, and he should have. So, and this is like the point I'm talking about, like fantasizing about that's not fantasizing about other relationships. That's wanting your husband to have done something that he didn't. And to be honest, if anyone is with someone, they are going to have experienced that, where it's like, he didn't do this, why hasn't he? He didn't take the bins out, why didn't he? I wish I was with someone that took the bins out. Like, it's all very normal. I mean, this point is very much like...
Yeah, I wouldn't say I fantasized about like another relationship. I did often think...
I think it's craving attention that I didn't get.
I will say the last year I think where certain thoughts were going round in my head about, it's really bad, but like, I don't know, I didn't feel very loved in the last year of my relationship. And I did get thoughts in my head like, I think I could do this as a single mum. Like, genuinely, I don't know, I'd go around my day-to-day life being like, would it be that much different?
So you didn't fantasize about other relationships. You fantasized about being on your own.
I fantasized about doing it on my own. I didn't think past ever being with someone else. I think in my head, I was quite miserable in my relationship I was in. I'm fantasizing a life without him. It sounds so awful to say, but
it's not.
I remember like doing things, and that's when I started like, I don't know, being a bit braver with going out and do like things like I took the kids out to zoos and stuff on my own when I was still married. Like, I do some quite big days out on my own, and it never bothered me. And I don't know whether in my head that was me,
practicing.
Like being like, you can do this. And yeah, I think it's the first time I've actually like said anything like that out loud. I don't know if it makes me sound like a bad person.
No, it absolutely doesn't.
But that is how I felt.
But that's no different to kind of like, you know how we said that although we were in our relationship, we felt like we were almost learning to accept being like detached from them, maybe subconsciously. That's sort of no different.
No.
I think if anything, it's good to have done that, because look how far you came so quickly, probably because of something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Don't you find a lot of the time when we're doing this podcast, like it's so therapeutic, and I'm like even just before how I was saying that fine line between I just came out with that, and I'm like, oh, actually, that's
I know.
First thought. Okay, so number 7, your partner is uninterested in resolving any issues that you've got in your relationship. I mean, I guess that does come down to slight lack of communication, like avoiding the communication. I do remember a lot of the time, and I'm not saying that this was the only problem in our relationship, but I think for a woman to maybe not have their partner kind of like initiate sex and stuff, I found that quite triggering. And I remember kind of sitting down and being like, we're not really having sex. Like that was my way of kind of like trying to like start a conversation and try and like improve, or like we're not really doing any date nights. Like, it'd be nice if we made more effort. And I felt like because he wasn't very good at communicating, he didn't say much to it. And then nothing really changed. And then it wouldn't be until like a month later where I kind of like say it again. Or even things like, I had an issue, I'd bring it up. And it wasn't until I put my issue on the table, it suddenly became apparent that he had certain issues too. But had I not brought it up, I would have never have known.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, showing that like no interest in kind of like resolving or initiating, trying to improve stuff, I feel like is a massive problem.
Being dismissed when you voice a problem, or being like, I'll work on it, or I don't know, even things like whether that person actually wants to take those things on board. Like, I don't know, it's massive for me. I think like that is a massive factor in a relationship for me. It is the communication, but it's things are always going to crop up in a relationship. It's how you resolve them, and it's feeling like you're in a safe space to be able to communicate that and it not become like a massive thing. And I think that's down to trust in that person as well, like how they're going to react to it. Because some people probably know like their partner will react in a certain way, so would rather just brush it under the carpet. And then again, like resentment and all other issues build up, don't they? So
I think it's no different to someone saying sorry but then not changing. Like, I'd rather not get the apology and just see the change in the behaviour.
yeah,
It's no different to having a conversation, sitting down and being like, I need this, this and this to change. Can you make the effort? Them saying like, yeah, absolutely. And then if they don't do it,
yeah, I agree.
then there's no change and there's no point.
Yeah.
So number 8 is that you see signs of repetitive unhealthy behaviour or signs of abuse. I personally didn't really get, repetitive like unhealthy behaviour probably is like maybe the thing that comes to mind for me with that would maybe be like, please can you make sure if you're out that like you do have your phone on you so I know when you're coming home, or like can you communicate with me a bit better like your plan, and then every time he'd go out, I get nothing. For me, that's repetitive behaviour that like I'm not happy with. Things like that, like I find really triggering. And it's not so much me being like a control. Like some people might maybe like, oh, you're such like a control freak, just like let him do what he wants and go out. But the way that I see it, I very strongly believe that you should never need to tell someone what to do because everyone's entitled to do what they want, etc. However, I feel like with a good and perfect partner, if you explain to them that something makes you feel uncomfortable or you're not happy with it, they should want to make changes to make you feel comfortable.
I agree. Especially if it's like, I don't know, some kind of security in your relationship. Absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And people are going to have different things. I think it's respect.
Yeah.
I think as well, you were saying something about abuse. I think that could also be some kind of relationship where you're gaslighted a lot as well. That is kind of like a
verbal, yeah,
because it makes you believe like you're the problem and you're the blame. It's manipulation, yeah, or like you're being unreasonable, a bit similar to like your point for what you're asking, or I don't know, for how you're feeling and things like that. So that could, I mean, I think that's quite an important one actually.
Yeah, like kind of not having your feelings validated.
Again, I think often people don't realise they're being gaslighting until they're the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when for me, I had that light bulb moment and I didn't actually address to him that I was done yet because I was trying to hold out for holiday. Suddenly, it's like this like veil dropped, and all of a sudden I was so aware of how I was being treated, and I was like, oh, you just turned that around.
Really weird.
It's scary though.
It literally feels like you're taking off a pair of glasses or you're putting on a pair of glasses and you can see everything. You're like,
was this happening the whole time?
Like, you're like, am I stupid? Like, and then you end up going through a list of things in your head and you're like, you knew, but you were almost like, I don't know, that it is that light bulb. It's something goes in you and you see things so differently and clearly. It is mental. I remember thinking, and I guess that was like my point of like, don't get me wrong, I've said it before, healing's not linear. It wasn't like from then on I was like, fine. But once I started to see things more clearly and things for what they were, I was a bit like, no, we're not doing this. This is not okay. And no.
Yeah. Okay, last one is your friends, your family and loved ones have concerns about your relationship. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should take into account what, friends and family have to say. But I know for me that I kept a lot to myself because I knew what their opinions would be and their opinions would have been valid.
I would also say it's a hard one and it depends on the people you have around you, because I would also say that some people probably may feel certain things about someone but not tell you.
Yeah.
If you're in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, like none of my friends said anything, but I think I was always very aware of probably what they thought.
Yeah, I think as well, like again, sometimes after you come out of relationships, you find out some people's true feelings about things and like what their concerns were. Sometimes you feel like being like, could you not have told me this earlier?
Yeah, but I so appreciate, you know, I said to my friends afterwards, like, I don't want anyone ever feeling like they weren't a good friend to me or I'm going to hold anything against them for them not giving honest opinions, because who wants to hear honest opinions when these people think that you're staying in a marriage, the father of your children? Like, I would never go up to a friend and be like, by the way, babe, like, your husband's a bit of a dick, like, are you going to leave? Like, no one would do that. But I think it was just very much like I knew I was holding back because I didn't want their opinions, because I knew that they'd be right. That's like a really, really big...
So yeah, I would say that if you've got family and friends who are brave enough to say to you, like, I'm a bit worried and concerned about the way they're treating you, that's definitely a big sign, isn't it? But when other people start to notice things aren't okay, I think, because I think a lot of people are able to hide things. So if it's really noticeable to people, I feel like that, you know, and things like, there may be comments like when you come out of a relationship, like, I don't know, that you've not been as happy as people would like to see you, or they've noticed changing you and things like that. And it's sad in hindsight, but I think, yeah, it's an interesting point, actually. Okay, so let's turn that around. So obviously, like, when we do our situations, we do leave or stay. There are some situations where we say, you know, communicate, and you don't necessarily need to leave. So let's be positive. About the reasons to stay. Okay, so I think the first and most important is that there is a mutual respect and like healthy communication. So even though like issues crop up in your relationship, things that may be hard and difficult conversations to have, they're dealt with really respectfully, they're heard, they're listened to, and they're almost like worked on together as that team.
Yeah, and I think that also comes down to like what we said before, like, even if you are a couple that fight every day, that's not the problem. It's how it's resolved, how you repair. So, and that comes down to the communication and the level of respect between you as a couple is really, as we've always said, the most vital thing for a healthy relationship is being on the same page and communicating it. Not necessarily having the same, you know, opinions or thoughts, but being able to be like, do you know what? I don't really agree with that. However, I can see where you're coming from. This is how it's made me feel. Blah, 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 blah.
Like, try and do. I'll try and do this so that you don't feel that way. And that's really important. And if you've got that and you're, you know, things do crop up in your relationship, but you're able to resolve them like that, I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, massively.
Okay, so number 2, I would say, is you share the same core values and you've got like the same long-term goals. So I don't know, there might be other issues in your relationship, but you know, at the heart of it all, like, your values are absolutely the same. You both want the same things. You both had that idea, I don't know, of growing old together and old school. That's all I want. I find someone I could be old with and dance in the kitchen with, and, you know,
with your walking stick.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be like old and my husband pinch my butt still.
Yeah.
I think those are really positive reasons to stay with someone.
Yeah, I think the long-term goals is really important, because, you know, being with someone, hoping to be with them in the for the long haul, like, you need to have the same goals and the same timeline for those goals. Otherwise, you do end up growing apart. You know, if you're in a couple and one really wants to move abroad and, you know, do all these things and travel, and the other one wants to just settle in one place, stay in their home country, then you've got completely different long-term goals, and that's not going to work. So it's the core values like we've discussed before, but also being on the same page, moving forward.
Okay, number 3 is you still properly like enjoy that quality time together. So you enjoy each other's company, you go out and do fun stuff. I think it's really important, like, to still laugh with someone. That's like what I want someone I can go out and like just have fun with.
Yeah.
You get one life. You've got to go and have fun.
I think sometimes you get so wrapped up in kind of like the mundane. Like he'll go to, I know this might be a bit cliche, but he goes to work, you're at home with the kids, then it's the weekends. On a Saturday, you all go out as a family. You're not really like present with each other. You're kind of just dealing with the kids. They go to bed, you're sitting on your phone. Like it's really making sure that you have that quality time and do the date nights. And when you do the date nights, you're not doing it because you feel like you should, but you actually want to. So yeah, really enjoy that time together as a family and without your children.
So again, like we are relating this back to like a situation where you're considering leaving or staying. And I think if you are with someone who you do still enjoy spending time with, that's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
Number 4, I would say is your challenges feel external, mendable and like temporary. So they're only, I don't know, they're things that are going to pass by. They're things that you...
So it's not something that's maybe like completely like ruined your lack of trust.
Yeah, it's not like going to linger.
Yeah, I guess that's probably something like what we said is someone's lost their job. We're going to go through maybe a bit of a tough ride. Like that could be, it's temporary. It's a life challenge, or a newborn baby and you're sleep deprived for a few months and it's going to be challenging
or like
and hard.
Someone's family member might be poorly or whatever it is. It's an external factor. It's something that will change over time and
you can mend it. Like we said, we don't want people sitting here thinking that we think that you're constantly in the honeymoon period and everything's lovey-dovey. Like shit happens, challenges arise, arguments happen. But if they are things like, you know, disagreements on a holiday, like I want to go here, no, I want to go there. That's not, you've got different core values, so off you go. You know, we don't want people to like listen to all these things and think of it so literal. Like there are going to be challenges in life, but if you have, you know, the communication, the core values, understanding the respect, that's what you need.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. This one, I would say in my eyes is like a really big thing. If you're considering staying or leaving, I think when you're in a relationship, it has to be both of you willing to put in that work. And I think it's really important that people understand relationships don't just happen. Like you don't just get feelings for someone and you exist and you live happily ever after. Relationships take work. Mm-hmm. So much work. But I also think like whilst you're in these relationships, it's really important that you feel like you're evolving into the best version of yourself as well. And I think spinning that on its head, I think if you're with someone where you don't feel like the best version of yourself is being brought out, that's a bit of a red flag. I feel like you should be with someone who makes you grow as a person, who evolves you into like someone you love being. Mm-hmm. And so if you know you're with someone and things crop up, but you are both so committed to making it work, then that is absolutely a reason to stay.
Do you know what I feel like in general when you know you're in a good relationship? It's not finding someone to love and for them to love you and then it's all happily ever after. It's finding that person that you're wanting to go through the shit with. Do you know what I mean? Like shit's gonna happen, hard times happen. It's finding that person that like regardless of what happens, like I'm sticking with you, you're sticking with me and we're going to help each other through it.
Yeah,
that's what I think like a good healthy relationship is.
So on that note, we're not going to do any stale leaves today because I feel like we've given you a lot of
reasons to stay and reasons to leave, and everyone's just got to take it with, you know,
do some reflection. So go into some emails.
Yes, let's do it. Okay.
Hi, I've just started listening to your podcast. I'm only on episode 4, so I've got a bit of catching up to do, but it's helping me massively with my current situation. By the way, we love to hear this, don't we? This is literally why we started this. So yeah, just we're really, really grateful. So basically, just after lockdown in 2020, when the gyms reopened, my partner said there was a girl that goes to the gym who recently was diagnosed with epilepsy, who couldn't drive herself to the gym and said he was going to drive her there.
I mean, sorry, can we pause for 1 second? Like, who? like
Random.
surely her partner or her mum or nah.
See where this is going.
Yeah.
Given that he would leave for the gym every morning at 5:30 a.m, I thought it was too much to be every single morning and I didn't feel comfortable with it. Absolutely valid. He said he explained this to her and she understood as she was married too. Fast forward a few months, we found out I was pregnant with twins and we were in the process of buying a house together. I started to have my suspicions that he was offering a lift to this girl as he started leaving for the gym even earlier than he would. I questioned him and he got very angry and defensive about it, saying it wasn't true. A few weeks later, I looked on his messages and noticed he had muted the conversation between him and this girl. The conversation wasn't particularly flirty, but it was still inappropriate and raised red flags for me. Again, I questioned him and he denied anything was in it, and then started making out I was crazy and was going to ruin our relationship if I carried on. I remember I felt so bad I even bought him a nice t-shirt to say sorry. A couple of months down the line, we were in the new house and I'm about 6 months pregnant. I had uploaded a photo on my story at the gym, to which the gym added to their story too. This particular girl then messaged me on Instagram saying she just saw my photo and how good I look for being 6 months pregnant with twins. I showed my partner and he then went on to say, give her a chance, she's a really nice girl. From then up until the birth of my twins, she kept on speaking to me and over time I started to like her. And she would even walk to our house about 2 miles away to deliver me cakes, etc. she had made. She was quite intense, and I'm not going to lie, I did refer to her as crazy. I'm not going to say the name, just in case. Crazy to our other friends. But she was lovely, and I gave her a chance, and she even came in the house a few times and had a cup of tea with us. Fast forward to when I gave birth in March 2021, she was still being crazy, and I even delivered homemade pancakes to me in hospital with her at the time husband. Once I was home, she came over quite frequently and saw the babies, once being with her husband too. I started to have a gut feeling something was going on with my partner, but I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't suspect the girl anymore, but I still looked on his phone. The conversation was open between him and her, and it was obvious they had been sleeping together from the messages. This was at about 4 a.m. when my partner was downstairs with one of the babies and I was upstairs with the other. I confronted him and he didn't deny it. I punched him several times in the face and kicked her out of the house. I then drove to her house at 5 a.m. Let's just say I'm sure she'll make sure she locks her door at night now. I remember feeling numb and like my whole world had fallen apart, looking at my 3-month-old twins and feeling scared about how I would take care of them on my own. I had a lot of help in my family, but if I'm honest, I didn't want to be around anyone and feel pity anymore. I just needed to not speak to anyone. So I offered my partner to come home and made him sleep in the garage on an airbed for weeks and called him in the house when he was needed. Over time, we ended up back together. Fast forward 6 months, I then had suspicions again something was going on, and I kept asking him if he was still in contact with her, to which he would make out I was being crazy. One evening, I managed to grab his phone and look on it. Couldn't see anything at first until I looked on recently opened tabs and found a new app called Viber, and his only contact on it was the girl. We then, of course, split up again, but when I realised how financially difficult it would be to leave, we ended up staying together. We've been working on our relationship for 2 years since he cheated, and now the kids are getting older, things are becoming slightly easier in the sense of leaving. However, I still find myself drawn to him because I love him, but I don't feel like he will ever be the man that I need him to be for me, to heal from the trauma he's caused me and also continue to be loyal to me. I don't know what to do, but it would be easier if I hated him, but unfortunately I don't. Sorry for the long story. Unfortunately, there are more elements to it with regards to his lying, but that's the main issue. Thank you.
I'm sort of gutted, I'm not going to lie, and I hope this isn't, I'm quite a blunt person, I think we've all realised this. I'm gutted you're still with him because no remorse, no care,
Doing it again.
no change. Really, by the sounds of it, you are waiting to find the strength to leave, which I completely resonate with. And I really, really hope that by the time you come to this episode and you hear that we are reading your email, that maybe you've realised it's time for you to leave, because you're not going to get what you need from that man.
It sounds like he's just trying to find different ways to hide things. Like he's coming up with a new way of keeping things from you. It doesn't sound like there's much respect for you. And I think you, in turn, you know that. And like you've said, you don't believe he'll be the man you need him to be for you to heal from the trauma he's caused you. I know it is so hard to leave, but you do get one life and you may think you're in love with him. But do you actually think, but what are you in love with? What qualities about him are you actually in love with? Because in my eyes, someone doesn't sound very lovable when they don't respect you and they don't care about you and they're not treating you in the right way. I feel like there's a lot of characteristics in a person that become unlovable. And I don't know if it would help, but like make a list of reasons why you do love him, and you might actually see you're holding onto an idea of him or a person he once was or a person he could be rather than the man that's in front of you.
Yeah. And I appreciate being a mum of twins, how hard it is. But you deserve to be with someone that it's all very well that you saying that you think you love him, but by the sounds of it, I don't want to be a bitch, but he can't love you if he is doing what he is doing.
No.
So thank you for sending it in. I really hope that you find some sort of strength from listening to this, or just inner strength from situations that you're currently experiencing where you realise that you don't need to stay.
And everything has a way of working out. I think you have to have faith in that.
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to end this episode with an affirmation of the week. So repeat this after me. Don't let someone who isn't worth your love make you forget how much you are worth.
Don't let someone who isn't worth your love make you forget how much you are worth.
Exactly that. So guys, repeat that, believe it. And thank you, as always, so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it.
Share, follow, spread. And don't forget, please leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts. It really, really helps us.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.